Hey everyone, thank you for choosing Williampedia. I make funny videos about historical facts that I find online. Subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. Today we're going to be talking about a couple weird controversies, and I use the term controversy very lightly because none of the things that I'm actually going to talk about in this video are technically controversies. But apparently, we just love talking about former President Jimmy Carter on this channel because we're talking about him again. In the spring of 1976, Carter was sitting on a balcony at the White House having casual conversation with staffers and Press Secretary Jody Powell, who retells the event in his autobiography, The Other Side of the Story. According to Jody, quote, "Suddenly, for no apparent reason, the president volunteered the information that while fishing in a pond on his farm, he had sighted a large animal swimming toward him. Carter was unsure if the animal was swimming out to attack him or if it was fleeing some other predator and just needed a place to rest. The president claimed that, quote, this large wet animal, making strange hissing noises and gnashing its teeth, was intent upon climbing into the presidential boat. Whether it was actually evil or not, Carter swung at the rabbit with his paddle and sent it swimming back to shore. For some reason, the staffers didn't really believe him. In fact, they found it very hard to believe that the president was attacked by a giant evil rabbit and stated that rabbits don't swim, and if they did, they wouldn't be violent. Much like an 8-year-old tearfully saying, "is too," when their friends tell them that they're lying. Because Jimmy Carter was just that kind of guy, he felt the need to defend his swimming attack rabbit story. So he dug up a photo that had been taken by the White House photographer who happened to capture the event as it was happening and had it printed out and sized up just to show everyone. The staffers finally agreed that it was indeed a rabbit and that it was indeed trying to perform an assassination. But the story got a little bit out of hand when Jody Powell accidentally leaked the story to the Associated Press after having a sit-down conversation with one of his close friends who worked there. Powell claims that it was over drinks of tea that he accidentally spilled the information. However, if you ask Jimmy Carter, Carter believes that it happened, quote, in a bar after a lot of drinking had gone on. Maybe it was some Long Island iced tea then, eh, Jody? Once the story was leaked, it made the front page of the Washington Post. News organizations begged for the release of the photo, but the White House responded that, quote, there are certain stories about the president that must forever stay shrouded in mystery. Except this one definitely wasn't one of them. This caused a chain reaction of columnists, journalists, congressmen, and senators giving opinions and having doubts about Jimmy Carter as a president. One columnist wrote that in the same way that Jimmy Carter didn't have the strength to kill the rabbit on the spot, he didn't have the strength to stop Iran from assaulting the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. Just wow. I mean, what a reach. Reverend Jerry Falwell commented on the event, saying that, quote, swamp rabbits were never mentioned in Revelation except in connection with Satan, and suggested that any true, heterosexual, right-thinking Christian would have seized upon this God-given opportunity to ruthlessly destroy the symbol of the beast. Again, wow. I do appreciate the fact, though, that the good Reverend Jerry Falwell was able to turn a situation where the president was attacked by a rabbit into an opportunity to call him gay. By the way, Jerry Falwell is the founder of fucking Liberty University. Yeah, that school where you're not allowed to dance. The photo didn't see the light of day until Reagan took office and released it to the public. The media picked it up again, but it didn't matter at this point since Carter was not at all interested in public life anymore. He famously dedicated the following 7 months after his presidency to finding and killing that rabbit. Nah, just kidding. That would have been pretty funny though, I think. In 2018, Indonesian businessman Munafri Arifudin ran for mayor of Makassar. That's how it told me to pronounce it.
Makassar.
Located in the province of South Sulawesi, Indonesia. He was the only person on the ballot. The original mayor was planning to run, but was barred from entry by the Indonesian Supreme Court because he, quote, had committed violations in the form of using the authority and programs of Makassar city government for their own interests in the mayoral election. I legitimately have no idea what any of that means. Arifudin was the only one on the ballot for mayor, and the fateful day came. The ballot had 2 options for voters to choose from. Vote for Munafri Arifudin or none of the above. When all was said and done, Arifudin had collected 259,955 votes, leaving him with about 46.68% of the total votes cast. For those of you out there that are maybe amateur statisticians, you might notice that 46% is a minority when it comes to having only 2 options. The other 53.32% belong to the none of the above box. He literally lost an election to nobody. He contested the election saying that, quote, the fraud was structured, systemic, and massive, thus undermining the democratic process in the regional election, and that, quote, we are demanding that the empty ballot box votes be invalidated. I don't know, if maybe half the people in the city you're running for mayor in vote for anarchy over you, maybe maybe you shouldn't be mayor. Despite his complaints, the Indonesian Supreme Court upheld the ruling. According to an election committee official, quote, "As far as I know, this is the first time the empty box has ever won." They appointed some rando to do the job until a re-election could be held in 2020. Also, I'm sure this won't be patronizing at all, but I find it very cute that they dress up all of their elected officials in these little admiral outfits. I mean, this guy's just making ordinances about trash on the street, and he looks like he's about to order a broadside. To add insult to injury, Arifudin ran again and lost to the guy who was the mayor before him. Apparently, the Supreme Court let him run again, and he beat him. However, Arifudin did win in 2024, though. So, he's currently serving as mayor. I wonder if it was really worth it, though. Losing an election to nobody, and then losing an election to the guy who you hate. Winning it all, at that point, mostly bitter, not even sweet. The first time that the Olympic torch relay occurred was during the 1936 Olympics. The leader of that year's host country stated, quote, "The sportive, knightly battle awakens the best human characteristics. It doesn't separate, but unites the combatants in understanding and respect. It also helps to connect the countries in the spirit of peace. That's why the Olympic flame should never die." Wow, how well spoken. I mean, this guy must have been a great leader. It was Hitler. Some people aren't really fans of the Nazis, for some reason. I mean, it's probably that stuff they did. This guy included. At the 1956 Summer Olympics in Melbourne, Australia, veterinary student Barry Larkin and some of his friends decided to protest the torch relay. Two of his friends had dressed up for the occasion, one as a runner and the other as a reserve member of the Air Force to pose as an escort. Larkin and his friends had worked together shortly before the event, making a makeshift torch. Their torch was made of a chair leg, painted silver, with a can nailed to the top. Their flame was a pair of underwear that had been doused in kerosene and placed inside the can. I feel like now is an important time to remind the viewer that all of these guys were Australian. Oh, it was obvious? A group of adult men lighting underwear on fire to prank the Olympics sounds like something that Australians would do? Huh, what a strange impression you have of those people.
The Manager of Opposition Business will resume his seat.
You're such a cunt.
The Minister will refer to people by their correct title.
I will, Madam Speaker.
The group waited outside the Sydney Town Hall along with the rest of the crowd, waiting to see the torchbearer. The runner friend and the escort friend made their move and started running toward the lighting spot. Most people who noticed started laughing, who assumed it was a joke. The runner was swinging his arms dramatically and acting a fool when the underwear came loose and fell from the makeshift torch. The runner and escort got scared and fled into the crowd, leaving the torch behind. The crowd was now confused. One of the other pranksters picked up the underwear, placed it back in the torch, and shoved it into Larkin's hands. He proceeded to kick him in the butt and yell, "Run, you bastard." As a funny side note, Larkin was wearing a suit and tie, not even close to what most Olympic relay runners wear. I guess they just let anybody carry the torch these days because at the time, I think it used to have to be athletes or something at least. The official Wikipedia states that traditionally it's famous athletes, active or retired, with significant sporting achievements while representing the host country, or promising young athletes, or other individuals with symbolic significance. An example of someone with symbolic significance would be the torchbearer of the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo, where a survivor of the Hiroshima bombing was the one carrying the torch to symbolize the fact that Japan had risen from the ashes. What an incredible and poignant display. So, the people of symbolic significance we chose were the two actors in the very, very barely softcore gay pornography show Heated Rivalry. I suppose some fujoshi at the Olympic Committee decided that the actors of Heated Rivalry, which I reassert is gay pornography, fell into the same category as someone who survived a nuclear bomb and fell into the category of other individuals with symbolic significance. I'm not sure what symbolic significance they represent other than the symbolically significant amount of women thirsting for them online.
It's a gay hockey show, and you see stuff.
Where is it? This is the best!
The guys are so hot in it.
And they're gay.
Yes.
And they're kind of shows things.
Yeah, it shows a lot of stuff.
This is beyond.
Enough gay hockey, back to Barry Larkin. After running for a short time longer, people started to think that he was the real torchbearer and closed in around him. The police then escorted him onward to the town hall. The mayor of Sydney, Pat Hills, realized that the runner must be early and he had to hurriedly prepare for the torch. He was so taken off guard that he didn't even look closely at the torch or who was carrying it and instead went straight into his prepared speech and remarks. As soon as the torch was out of his hands, Larkin walked quickly away into the crowd, onto the train, back to his college dorm. The mayor crowd didn't realize that he was holding a table leg that had been painted silver nailed to a can until somebody whispered in his ear, "That's not the real torch." After making this realization, the mayor announced to the crowd, quote, "This was a trial run. Our friends from the university think things like this are funny. I hope you are enjoying the joke." Apparently, this announcement made the crowd so unruly that people just kind of lost all interest. Things kind of just fell apart from there. People started leaving. People stopped standing and waiting. The energy was just gone. In fact, when the actual runner showed up to deliver the flame, they needed a military truck to clear a path through the crowd of people. Only half the original crowd was left when the real torch arrived. Most people reacted positively and thought it was a good prank, except for one writer to the Sydney Morning Herald who said, quote, "It is tragic that certain irresponsible elements in the student body should bring discredit upon the whole population of Sydney University, as surely this action will have done. This action deserves severe punishment." And severe punishment he received. He was actually sentenced to death via firing squad. That's not true at all. I completely made that up. He actually didn't get punished by anybody. Yeah, no, the school didn't even punish him. He doesn't even feel bad about it. Also, the guy who ended up lighting the actual torch in the stadium burned himself with it, so that's kind of funny. Well, that's the video, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. If you like this one, go watch one of the other ones. It's going to be here or somewhere. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you like the next one. All right, bye.